That was the debate in Parliament. One word that was used again and again is insaniyat or humanity. But what does insaniyat really mean in the context of Kashmir, particularly in the light of the debate we saw in Parliament today? I want two voices joining me. Both of them are not politicians, but both of them represent opposite sides of the spectrum of the debate in Kashmir. Shabnam Lone, lawyer activist, joining me from Srinagar. Sushil Pandit, who's been an activist, a Kashmiri Pandit himself, is also joining me here. I appreciate both of you joining us. Shabnam Lone, what does insaniyat mean in the context of Kashmir? Is insaniyat a one-way street which the Indian state must observe? Should insaniyat not be reciprocated by those who resort to violence to settle their agendas?
Well, Rajdeep, I join you from Delhi. Well, the silence that saddened and singed the valley for these 30 days, these were hours and days of dark intent in the valley. 60 deaths, thousands injured, and the pelleted democracy corroded the heart of the average Kashmiri. Kashmir, the valley where the Jhelum flows, Rajdeep, that river which used to give us peace, that river which used to give us calm. Rivers of blood flow in my valley.
Madam, may I ask you to answer my question? What does insaniyat mean? I empathize with the people of Kashmir. I don't think anyone should go through what Kashmiris have gone through in the valley in terms of 30 days of curfew. Nobody should go through 30 days of curfew where their schools are closed, where people are subject to possibility of violence. But I want to know, is insaniyat a one-way street? What is your definition, ma'am, of insaniyat? And then I'll get Sushil Pandit to respond to that. What is your definition, ma'am, of insaniyat?
Insaniyat means, insaniyat is humanity. Insaniyat is fundamental rights that are guaranteed to you under the Constitution. Now, insaniyat would mean where there is liberty, freedom of expression. And once that freedom is fulminated, that would mean no humanity.
So insaniyat for you means you fundamental rights of the citizen as guaranteed under the Constitution. Respond to what you're hearing. Insaniyat, Shabnam Lone says, fundamental rights which she believes in a sense have been suspended for the people in the valley. Your response to her?
Just two short sentences in facts. Why is army there, and why is AFSPA there, and why are curfews and pelleted guns there? In 1990, there was none of this. When there were massacres, mass murders, when there were rapes, when an entire community was cleansed from Kashmir with impunity, only then army had to be called, and that is the day insaniyat died in Kashmir. Number one. Number two, who is putting these women and children in the front, in the line of fire? Who is creating these propaganda pictures without any remorse? Kindly ask these questions in Kashmir. Where is the insaniyat? Sacrifice at the altar of jihad? Please.
No, is insaniyat, is your definition of insaniyat to be seen through the prism of what Kashmiri Pandits have suffered? Are you saying that, when you said just now, insaniyat died in the early 90s when Kashmiri Pandits were driven out of the valley? Are you saying that since then, therefore, as Shabnam Lone is pointing out, Kashmiri Muslims who today are living under the fear of constant curfew, of AFSPA, their fundamental rights being suspended, does that not constitute insaniyat as well?
No. What I'm saying is, from that day onwards, when the blood literally flew into Jhelum, till today, there is no justice. There's no justice for those Kashmiris who were evicted. There's no justice for those Hindus who were cleansed, committed into a genocide. And this genocide word was used by none other than Justice Venkatachalaya, the then chief of the Human Rights Commission of India.
Is it Hindu versus Muslim? Because let's be honest, far more Kashmiri Muslims have died in these years of militancy.
Yes,
many thousands of more. So is it Hindu versus Muslim?
No.
Or is it basically about human rights?
No, it is a rabid, pernicious idea of Islamist supremacy, which is consuming Muslims. Indeed, when people sit and create bombs, some do blow in their hands. It is a reality.
Should
So you
ordinary
must wake up.
citizens suffer? Because at the end of the day, who's suffering? It's the ordinary Kashmiri, whether Hindu or Muslim, whether Pandit who has been driven out of their homes, or whether it's Kashmiri Muslims who find themselves almost in a gated prison today. Both of them are suffering as a result. So Shabnam Lone, the question would be for insaniyat, as the Prime Minister put it, and I quote him now, "It is painful to see that innocent youngsters who should be holding laptops, book and cricket bats have been given stones." What would you then tell the Prime Minister, who is also invoking the concept of insaniyat as Atal Bihari Vajpayee had invoked a decade ago?
Rajdeep, just half a minute. See, who am I? I come from the valley of blood and tears. I come from the valley where I see wailing mothers every day, where I see wailing sisters every day, where I see broken fathers, broken homes. Now, this is the discord. Look how tragic it is. Sushil is a very intelligent commentator, but you see his statements are always focused, unfortunately, on one community. As far as he is concerned, when the Pandits were killed, that was genocide. But when a Kashmiri Muslim is killed, that as per him is not a human rights violation, because they are whipping, unfortunately, whipping up passions which are so negative to send a message to the Indians, to the Indian Hindu, that look here,
Shabnam,
we were driven out of our homes.
In
now
all
the
humility,
army
Shabnam.
should go and butcher the Kashmiri Muslim.
In all humility, Shabnam.
This is a very unfortunate way of...
In
now,
all
Rajdeep,
humility,
let me please
Shabnam.
make my point.
The only
what
difference
I'm saying is that every Kashmiri Muslim, and I'm speaking with certainty, that we are deeply anguished, deeply pained and horrified what happened to our Kashmiri Pandit brethren in 90. But you must realize that the Kashmiri Muslims equally went through a very horrible phase. He was also mercilessly killed.
Madam,
Madam,
the point
where would he
no,
go?
Shabnam Lone, I accept your point. I accept your point that I do not...
came to Delhi and merged with a Hindu identity. Where would the Kashmiri Muslim have gone? He had to find ways
Can I
of
come
being
back? Can I come back to the word insaniyat? Because my worry is that this debate becomes this polarized debate between Kashmiri Muslims versus Kashmiri Pandits. And the worry is, insaniyat needs to take...
I don't like it, Rajdeep.
I don't like it either, ma'am.
It's very ugly.
Ma'am, it is ugly. I don't like it. But the question is that this seems to be one reality. The other reality, Sushil Pandit, is that at the end of the day, the Prime Minister spoke of insaniyat, Kashmiriyat and Jamhuriyat. And today in Parliament also I heard these words again. And part of these words is the healing touch. Now the healing touch means that the tears have to be wiped also of those who have suffered in the valley, as well as those who today have been driven out of the valley. My question is, how do you achieve, I don't see any bridge builders. Everyone, you're holding a hard position and Shabnam is holding her position. Who is going to be the bridge builder? Isn't it time that you said, okay, this was terrible that happened in 1990. What's happening today is terrible. Let's find a way out. Otherwise, Pakistan exploits this very divide, Sushil Pandit, that you are creating, some would say, between Hindus and Muslims, or that the separatists are creating between Muslims and Hindus.
I am not creating a divide. A divide created an exiled community out of me. I did not create that divide. I did not pelt stones. I did not shout slogans. I did not come out with guns and grenades. I did not challenge a state. I did not challenge a mosque. I did not challenge a religion. I did not do anything. Please tell me what was my fault. At least here I can say somebody's fault is that he's pelting stones, he's pelting acid bottles, he's pelting petrol bombs, he's pelting grenades. What was my fault?
I empathize with you, but I'm saying in 2016, who is going to be a bridge builder and how? How are you going to bridge build?
I'll tell you.
If insaniyat is going to be seen through the prism of religion, then how will insaniyat ever work in Kashmir?
Rajdeep, first and foremost, we should not be prisoners of these catchwords. They have lost their meaning over abuse of last 15 years. You have to see the reality on ground first. What is it? It is not a rights movement. It is not for some constitutional reform. It is not for employment, jobs, prosperity. It is not for a college, university or hospital. This movement is for a caliphate. This movement is raising the flag of ISIS. This movement is saying Azadi ka matlab kya, la ilaha illallah. How do you deal with jihad?
You know,
how do you build a bridge with jihad? How do you build with fundamentalism?
Shabnam Loan, please respond to that, because that really is also fundamental to this. If there are separatists who will not condemn violence, I will not. Just a minute. I want to make it clear. Let us not stereotype the Kashmiri Muslim as a jihadi. Let us not also stereotype every Kashmiri Pandit as a bigot. I just want to know, how will though insaniyat take place when people are not effective enough in condemning violence? Surely that's the very least, that you need to distance yourself, whoever they are, from those who are using violence as a weapon to try and control territory, as a weapon to try and whip up passions among a younger generation. Surely you will agree that that isn't also the way forward to create a bridge for insaniyat.
Yes, Rajdeep, we are all Kashmiris. The way our learned panelist whips up passions here, the same way we have a group in Kashmir who do whip up passions. Having said that, let me come to one very positive note today. See, today I was glad, Rajdeep, when I saw Mr. Sitaram Yechury Sahab, when I heard the speech of Mr. Sharad Yadav Sahab, when I heard Mr. Tripathi from the NCP, when I heard Mr. Derek O'Brien, and they were genuine speeches. Heartfelt speeches.
No, but those speeches,
and
what effect will those speeches have on those who are using violence?
Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad. No, listen to me, Rajdeep. Please listen to me. That's where I am coming. So you see, this beginning. Now, we have to believe the Home Minister of India. We have to believe the Prime Minister of India. Maybe I have a caveat for the Honorable Prime Minister of India yesterday, when he made a very emotional speech. He said, "Jin haathon mein laptop hona chahiye tha, unme," I think this connection has got cut.
No, I understand what you're saying. Jin haathon mein laptop hona chahiye, unme patthar hai. And the question is, how do you make sure that the boy who has a laptop, how do you ensure that the boy... Yeah, quickly complete, and I want Sushil to give a final point.
लेकिन एक इस्तेदार, one thing I want to point out. जब उन्होंने ये कहा, मोदी साहब, जब आपने ये फरमाया, तो जिस हाथ में आप ये लैपटॉप देना चाह रहे हैं, उसकी तो आंखें पेलेट गन से खत्म हो चुकी हैं. वो लैपटॉप लेके क्या करेगा?
I think you make a very emotional point there. You make an emotional point, and Sushil Pandit, that's true. Pellet guns. If you are going to use pellet guns and then talk of insaniyat, there will be a mismatch. There will be a mismatch to the Kashmiri Muslim today who is seeing the images of more than 100 young Kashmiris who've had pellet guns. Now you will talk of the stones, you will see them as stone pelters. She is seeing them as young boys who have got pellet guns in their eyes, who are living in a gated jail, as they call it, because of AFSPA. How will you look at that then?
You tell me, there are more than 2,000 security personnel still in hospitals nursing injuries. What would you give them to use? Cotton wool bullets? How will they defend themselves?
So you're saying insaniyat must also be looked at from the perspective of the security forces who are fighting the battle.
They have acid bottles thrown at them. They have petrol bombs thrown at them. They have grenades thrown at them. It's not just stones. And then you have hundreds of them pouncing upon bunkers where there are just handful of them holding. It has to be two-way. They are also human beings. They are also sons and daughters of this country. Some of them are Kashmiris themselves. The cop who died, who was tossed into jail, was a Kashmiri. How can he not be a son of Kashmir? And just those few boys and women who are put as a shield, who are thrown in as cannon fodder, are the only sons and daughters of Kashmir.
Don't have a poisonous, revengeful attitude.
This is not revengeful.
No revenge,
this is reality.
No poison, no
what
revenge.
Do you do?
Of course.
What do you do?
Yes, it is very revengeful.
You leave security forces to be lynched by mobs. What do you do?
Injured and maimed. Yes, no, come on. You see that Riaz who died, he was on his way to work. He was killed.
What about the constable who was tossed into jail along with his vehicle and he drowned? What about him?
Yes, that was very devastating.
That's
That was
terrible.
very devastating.
Yes, so long as you
Those
mention
acts
that
are
as well.
highly condemnable.
So long as
Highly
you mention
condemnable.
that as well.
Highly
And I don't have to
condemnable.
remind you of it.
Okay, I'm going to leave
I
it there.
don't need you to remind me, Sunil.
I'm
Don't
going
remind me.
to leave
I
it there.
know
I'm going to
this.
leave
I
it
know
there
this. Don't
because
remind me.
this
No
debate,
elected
madam, this
democracy.
debate shows
we
the
want a
complex.
democracy which is a real democracy.
Right. I agree with you. Jamhuriyat is needed, as is Insaniyat, as is Kashmiriyat, but it is not an easy ride. It requires the politics of compromise, the beauty of compromise, as Mahatma Gandhi once spoke about. Sushil Pandit, Shabnam Noon, I appreciate your joining us. My take, where do I stand? Insaniyat cannot be a one-way street. The Indian state is expected to show Insaniyat in Kashmir, but what of those in the valley who endorse or rationalize violence? For Insaniyat to become the touchstone for a dialogue, the guns must fall silent on both sides. And yes, Islamabad must sermonize less. You can't push terrorists across the border and then take the moral high ground. Healing cannot come without an end to the violence first.